Welcome to Side by Side with Gabi. I am Gabriela Frois, teacher trainer, and this is my opportunity to introduce you to some of the teacher educators I know and respect. Today I'm talking to Giselle Sá. She's an experienced EFL teacher with a background in law and special education. She will share her insights on how drilling techniques can enhance fluency in communication and in communicative language teaching. So let's get started. Gisele, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Gabi. It's very nice to be here.
And one thing I forgot to mention is that we have been friends for a really long time. We went to high school together. So, G, can you introduce yourself and share a little bit about your background and particularly your journey as an EFL teacher?
Of course. Well, for those who don't know me, as Gabi said, I've been a teacher for more than 20 years. I started teaching even before I got into college, and that's when I started getting in touch with the drilling technique and the audiolingual method. And it's been a very enriching experience, even though I felt that, that was not something complete. Well, I've been working with that kind of methodology for like almost, I worked with it for 15 years.
Yeah, you
And
started
after
before
that,
me. Yeah.
I did. I think I did. I
Yeah.
think I did. And, I started teaching in year 2000. Yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I got in touch with the communicative approach. And then, it was like, oh my God, it was like getting out of a cave. It was amazing how the two things could join together to bring an even more amazing experience in terms of learning and in terms of teaching. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
as a mother of four autistic children, fighting for their development and trying to understand their condition and trying to understand more of what they needed in terms of learning, in terms of every kind of skill, that led me to getting deeper and deeper in special education. Law was a very interesting thing because they may seem very different things at first, but they're not actually. They are very connected, especially when it comes to teaching. Because the thing is, dealing with law, you are encouraged all the time to be critical, to have critical thinking, because you don't have to ban the law, but you have to make, as
To make it
lawyer,
work
you
for
have to
you, maybe.
make yourself understood. Yes. So you need to be extremely analytical. And that brought me that skill, being
Mm-hmm.
analytical, being more
Mm-hmm.
thorough, and being able to convey and to transmit more complex ideas in a simpler way,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
helped me a lot.
And then I was going to ask you that how do you think that having such diverse backgrounds, because you are a woman with so many interests, uh,
Yeah.
how do you think this influences your teaching of English
Oh
specifically?
my God, directly.
Mm.
There isn't a direct influence because it brought me to understanding more deeply what a student needs and trying to see each student for their own needs, and trying to make the environment as engaging, as critical, like they are, English has to be a tool for communication. It doesn't
Mm.
have to be a set of rules, of grammar rules and vocabulary, all like in little boxes. No, that's not it. It has to
Mhm.
be something that they can use to communicate their thoughts and trying to give their ideas. So I always encourage my students, and those two backgrounds, they helped me a lot because they made me see that the students could be learning at their own pace. I had to be more patient. I had to be more engaging. I had to see things not from my point of view. I had to
Mhm.
see, well, all the teachers are encouraged to do that. And this is like the theory. But when it comes to practice, especially when you're talking about more experienced teachers or younger teachers or less experienced teachers, usually because there's a part of you that influences who, you know, what kind of teacher you are.
Yeah, I think it's great that I've been doing these interviews and I'm getting to know people with such different backgrounds. And it is interesting to see how uh, every small thing we have done in life completely changes the way we conduct our practices, right? The
It
fact that
does.
I don't know, that I don't know, that I took a course on how to apply makeup will change the way you're going to deal in with people in a way, or the fact that you have, I don't know, a background in law will change the way you, I don't know, maybe you have persuasion techniques with students that I
Yeah.
don't have. Right?
I usually, well, I like to think that I do, you know, they like to think, they like to say that I do. And it's nice because you try to engage student, and that's what I call it, even persuasion. I call it engaging. You know, you're trying to
Mhm.
make them go where you want them to go, even though
That's lawyer
they
talk.
may, yeah, could be.
But speaking
Could
now
be.
more, you said you started your career working in an audiolingual school, right?
I did.
And
I did.
you have a lot of experience, probably the person I know with the most experience in terms of drilling techniques. And
I
after
learned English
that,
that way too.
you moved on to working in a communicative language teaching language school, and you found a way to apply what you already had into the communicative approach. So,
Yes.
why do you think drilling could enhance a communicative lesson, and how could it be good for the student?
Well, I can say that, you know, through my own experience. I was a student, for example, I was the kind of student who learned English with audiolingual method, partly
Mm,
with very experienced teachers, because they drilling is not only, it's important to say that drilling doesn't have to be a method. Drilling is a tool, a means to an end. You know,
mhm,
when it comes to learning, drilling has to be meaningful. You know, a student, especially when a student is learning, there are, you know, there is an importance for every level. Drilling has its importance in every single level, whether the student is a beginner, elementary, intermediate, or advanced. There are ways in which you could, you know, improve their automaticity, their confidence, boosting their confidence when it comes to connected speech. Because there's something that may seem, a lot of teachers who work with the communicative approach, they tend to look at drilling, like they tend to frown on drilling, and this is
mhm,
something that usually happens. But usually that kind of thing happens because the teacher doesn't get into, you know, knowing the techniques very well and how to apply them in a way that the students can find engaged, confident, having their fluency better, because they're going to improve their intonation. They can learn the language with the target language, and they can move on to more personalized and more meaningful communication after learning and, you know, having that kind of language automatized for them. And
mhm,
that
mhm,
that makes, you know, the whole, a whole lot of difference. It doesn't mean, of course, that after drilling your student is going to be mistake free. No, that doesn't happen at all.
mhm, mhm,
But the thing is, when you're drilling a student, he gets more confident. He gets more
mhm,
confident.
mhm,
He gets comfortable with the sounds, with the words, with the grammar, with the structures. And the teacher who conducts the drilling has to be able to do it in such a way that student feels that way. It doesn't
mhm,
have to be something all those like like a parrot, like you're repeating aimlessly. You know, that doesn't have to be that way, and it shouldn't be that way, and it can't be that way. Otherwise, the student is just going to repeat a bunch of chunks, not learning communication at all.
mhm,
So it
mhm,
has to blend in communication tasks and drilling experiences to make a class more, to make a richer class, to make a more engaging class, and that the students leave the classroom like feeling that they're
Mhm.
really speaking and confident and fluent and having a very good connected speech and feeling, feeling that their English is approaching, not does it, it's not a matter of accent, but they feel that they are speaking like a more like
More
a person
fluidly,
who has
right?
more
Yeah.
fluently. Yes, because otherwise we may have a student who is not who is unintelligible outside the classroom, outside the EFL classroom, and that's
Mhm.
not something that any teacher wants for any kind of student.
Yeah, I remember in the early 2000s, whenever we were in a communicative classroom and a student who came from the audiolingual method appeared, we could immediately spot them because they were students that had been, well, in a way, trained to speak more fluidly and maybe faster, and they had more chunks in their language capacity. I don't know. And it was always something I was curious about because I could see that it made a difference in the way um, they produced language, but it's something
Exactly.
that most language schools don't offer as part of their training, right? Or they even
Exactly.
say that you can use it if you want, but where are you going to
But they
learn?
don't
It's not
teach
even
you, they don't teach you how to do it, and
not
they don't
ma-
teach you how to do it like in an effective way. They don't teach
no,
you
they don't teach
how to
at all.
practice. They don't
Yes,
they
and
don't
it's very difficult to find material to study about it. So basically, what I know about drilling and have put into practice in the classroom, I learned either from the years in which I studied in the audiolingual method or by watching videos of people demonstrating it on YouTube. But this is more
which is
recent because it didn't used to be available
there.
uh,
Yeah, there wasn't
for
such a thing,
teachers.
in the past.
No,
No.
there
And even
wasn't.
on YouTube, but the thing is, even on YouTube, the videos that, for example, I've
They're very
already seen,
technical.
they're
Yeah.
very technical, and they don't teach you how to personalize the drilling. They don't teach you how to make it interesting. They say it must be fun, it has to be fun, but how do you make it fun? How do you make it? And there is a difference
Yes, I
when
think
it comes to,
it would depend on the creativity of the teacher, of the experience of
it's
the
a
teacher.
foundation.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what I said about the background, that makes a difference when you're talking about, for example, of what kind of teacher are you, what kind of experiences has this teacher had, what
Mm-hmm.
kind of things
Mm-hmm.
has he gone through in order to see that kind of student, and knowing what would make this student interested, what would
Yes.
make this,
What would
what
work?
would, what would bring that student closer to me,
Mm-hmm.
and what would
Mm-hmm.
bring him, what would blend this class together. And there's a lot of difference, for example, when you're talking about drilling for online settings and for
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
courses or schools, because there's a whole lot of difference when you're teaching one-to-one students and when you're teaching how to drill
Mm-hmm.
one-to-one, how
Mm-hmm.
to drill online, for example. But it's something that is very necessary, that's something that is paramount when it comes to learning and making the student wanting, feeling comfortable with the language.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Otherwise the student is going to, many of the students are going to read comfortable. No, you have to teach him comfortable. You have to, and that he has to repeat, he has to feel comfortable with that so that he can move on to more personalized communication.
Definitely. For sure. And well, so you have a lot of experience incorporating drilling techniques into the communicative lessons, and
Yes,
you are going to be offering a workshop exactly on that, right? Teaching teachers who have no experience with drilling whatsoever how
exactly.
to do them and how to do them inside a communicative lesson. Could you tell us a little bit about it?
Of course. Well, in this workshop, we're going to teach, to tell the teachers what is a drill, when it should be applied when it comes to the lesson, the differences between drilling online, the differences between drilling in a group, the differences between drilling, for example, when you have groups with different ages, trying to fill that void, that gap, that age gap. How do you feel that? How do you do that? How do you deal with that? How do you bring this class together in order to make them all achieve one good level of connected speech, confidence, and engagement, and interaction? That's something that students and teachers must be really aware. And we're going to see what a drill is, what kinds of drills we have, because we have not only repetition drills, we have so many kinds of drills. The teachers who will experience, and the differences between the levels. What is the difference between teaching a beginner and drilling a beginner? What is the difference between drilling when it comes to intermediate levels? What is the difference between, is there a possibility for drilling students who are advanced? Yes, there is. Even though it may seem difficult for some teachers to believe, there is a way for drilling in every level, every age. But the teacher has to know how to do it, how to engage the student, how to conduct. There is a technique for doing that, and that's what we're going to be seeing in the workshop.
Yes, and I can hardly wait uh, to take it too, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to learn a lot from this workshop.
You
Thank you so
are.
much for joining us here in this side by side with Gabby. It was a pleasure to have you.
My pleasure, Gabi. My pleasure being here, and I hope to see you soon. And I hope to see you all in my workshop. I hope that you guys can all get it and get in touch and have a wonderful time drilling your students, using it as a very nice tool for enhancing their fluency.
I'm sure we will. Thank you. And thank you for watching. I hope you found this conversation with Giselle insightful and that it gave you some ideas to take into your own teaching practice. If you would like to learn more, be sure to check out her workshop on drilling techniques for communicative language lessons. It will be packed with practical tips and strategies. Don't forget to follow me here and on my platform for more conversations like this one. See you next time.